The autumn sunlight streamed through the windows of Beatrix in Lincoln Park, casting golden shadows across our table. I should have felt at peace with my family, but something felt different today. "Sarah, could you move your purse? The server needs room for Michael's celebration cake," Mom said with that tone that made everything I did seem inconvenient. I shifted my purse, watching as an elaborate chocolate cake was placed in front of my younger brother. "Congratulations, Michael," was written across the top. My stomach tightened. I hadn't known we were celebrating anything. "What are we celebrating?" I asked. Dad's eyes lit up. "Your brother got accepted into Johns Hopkins medical program, full scholarship." "That's amazing, Michael." "I'm really proud of you," I said, meaning it. "Well, it better feel real because you're going to be Dr. Peterson soon." Mom beamed. I couldn't remember the last time she'd looked at me that way. As we ate, conversation flowed around Michael's achievement. Dad discussed helping with an apartment near Johns Hopkins. Mom scrolled through articles about young doctors making breakthroughs. "How's the new job, Sarah?" Michael asked. "Good. I'm working on a campaign for a fitness chain. We've exceeded all our goals and the client's considering expanding." "That's nice, dear," Mom said absently. "Michael, you should consider cardiology. So prestigious." My accomplishment floated in the air before being completely ignored. I watched my family, Dad's animated gestures about medical careers, Mom's genuine engagement with Michael's future, Michael uncomfortable but not correcting the disparity. "You know what I love about Michael?" Mom said suddenly. "He's always been focused, driven, never needed us to worry about his choices." The implication stung. "Some people just know their path," Dad added. "Makes parenting easier when you don't have to guide every decision." My hands trembled. They were talking about Michael, but their words felt aimed at me. Some children just require more management, more worry. It's exhausting, really, Mom continued. "Are you talking about me?" I asked. "Don't be so sensitive. We're just proud of Michael's direction," Mom replied. "But you said some children require more management while looking at me." "Everything has to be about you, doesn't it?" Mom's voice sharpened. "We're celebrating your brother, and you're making it personal. Why we're proud of Michael. Why we don't constantly worry about his choices." Each question hit like a blow. "You know what, Sarah?" Mom looked directly at me, her eyes cold. "I'm tired of tiptoeing around your feelings. Michael contributes. He makes us proud. He doesn't create drama." "I don't create drama. Family means supporting each other without making it about yourself. It means contributing something meaningful instead of just taking up space." Taking up space. The words hung in the toxic air. "You know what? I'm just going to say it." Mom's frustration reached its breaking point. "You don't matter to this family the way Michael does. He's going somewhere. He's becoming someone important. And you're just here." The restaurant noise rushed back. Conversations, laughter that sounded like mockery. Dad stared at his plate. Michael looked pale but remained silent. "You don't matter to this family." Something inside me broke, but something else clicked into place. I reached for my purse with steady hands and stood up slowly. "Sarah, sit down," Dad said. I looked at each of them, Dad with his warning tone, Michael with wide, apologetic eyes, Mom with defiant regret. "No," I said quietly. "I think I'll go now." Without drama or raised voices, I turned and walked toward the exit, my footsteps steady on the polished floor. The cool October air hit my face as I stepped out of Beatrix. Lincoln Park stretched before me, families walking dogs and pushing strollers. Normal Sunday activities for normal families who probably didn't weaponize brunch conversations. I pulled out my phone to call an Uber, my hands surprisingly steady. The familiar weight of my purse felt grounding, real. Unlike the past hour, which felt like watching someone else's life unfold. "You don't matter to this family." The words replayed, but strangely didn't hurt as much as expected. Maybe because some part of me had always known. Maybe because hearing it out loud had freed me from trying so hard to prove otherwise. My Uber driver, Marcus, pulled up in a silver Honda. He was older with kind eyes who glanced at me in the rearview mirror. "Rough morning?" he asked gently. "You could say that. Family brunch?" "How did you know?" Marcus chuckled. 20 years driving Uber. I've picked up a lot of people walking away from family brunches. There's a particular look, like you've been hit by a truck, but also like you finally figured something out. I stared out the window as we drove past the zoo where Dad used to take Michael and me. Back then, he'd hold both our hands with equal enthusiasm. When had that changed? "Can I ask you something?" I said. "Shoot. Do you think families are supposed to make you feel like you don't belong?" Marcus was quiet at a red light. "My grandmother used to say family isn't just about blood. It's about who shows up for you, who sees your worth, who celebrates your victories. Blood relations who can't do that? They're just people you happen to share DNA with." We continued toward my apartment in Wicker Park. I'd chosen the neighborhood because it felt like me. Artsy, diverse, full of young professionals figuring out their lives. Mom called it pretentious. Dad worried about crime statistics. Neither had ever visited. Do you have kids? I asked as we neared my building. 3. All grown now. Do you have a favorite? He turned to look at me directly. Honey, my kids are as different as 3 people can be. They've all made choices I didn't understand, had struggles I couldn't fix. But favorite? That's not how love works. Real love anyway. I gave him a generous tip. Thank you, Marcus. Really. The people who can't see your worth, that says everything about them and nothing about you. My apartment felt like sanctuary. Small, but bright, with plants on every windowsill and local artwork covering walls I'd painted warm yellow. Mom had declared it too bold, but it made me happy. I curled up on my couch, finally processing what happened. My phone buzzed, Katie asking about weekend plans. What would I tell her? That my mother publicly declared I didn't matter? I thought about Michael's graduation last year. I'd driven 3 hours, brought flowers, cheered loudest. My own graduation 3 months ago. Michael was studying. Mom had a hair appointment. Dad left immediately for golf. Just a bachelor's degree. Not like medical school. The patterns had been there all along. I'd been too desperate for approval to see them clearly. Almost without thinking, I opened my laptop and began typing. Things I've accomplished that my family has never acknowledged. Graduated with 3.7 GPA while working part-time. Landed my job without family connections, increased client membership by 15% in 3 months, learned Spanish to serve diverse clients, volunteered at animal shelter every weekend for 2 years, helped elderly neighbor with groceries, weekly furnished entire apartment without asking for help. I stared at the list, surprised by its length. When had I started discounting these things? My phone buzzed. Michael calling. I let it go to voicemail. Sarah, hey. I wanted to talk about brunch. Mom's really upset, and Dad's not saying much. But maybe you should call them? I don't know what got into Mom, but I'm sure she didn't mean it how it sounded. Call me back. Even now, the expectation was that I should fix it. Apologize for existing? For wanting inclusion in my own family? I deleted the voicemail without calling back. Instead, I made tea and sat by my window, watching the neighborhood's Sunday afternoon energy. Young couples, friends meeting for coffee, people moving through the world with confidence. For the first time in months, maybe years, I felt relief. The exhausting effort of earning unavailable love, of contorting myself to fit a family dynamic with no real place for me, it was over. You don't matter to this family. Maybe that was true. But sitting in my sunny apartment, surrounded by things I'd chosen and accomplished alone, I was starting to think maybe the family didn't matter much to me either. My phone rang again. Michael, then Dad, then Mom. I let them all go to voicemail, feeling strange power in my silence. For once, I wasn't rushing to smooth things over, to apologize for taking up space. Outside, the sun painted the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. It was beautiful, and for the first time all day, I could appreciate it without the weight of family disappointment pressing down. I had work tomorrow, a campaign to finish, a life to live. A life that might be more valuable than I'd ever given it credit for. Monday morning came with the familiar buzz of my alarm at 6:30 a.m. For a moment, lying in bed watching the early sunlight filter through my curtains, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Peace. No immediate urge to check my phone for family messages, no anxiety about disappointing anyone, no mental rehearsal of conversations designed to prove my worth. Then I remembered yesterday, and the peace was replaced by something else entirely. Not sadness exactly, but a strange sense of anticipation, like waiting for the other shoe to drop. I went through my morning routine methodically. Shower, coffee, toast with avocado, simple pleasures that belonged entirely to me. My phone sat silent on the kitchen counter, and I found myself glancing at it periodically, wondering when the storm would hit. The answer came at 8:47 a.m. just as I was grabbing my keys to leave for work. The phone rang with Mom's contact photo, a family picture from last Christmas where I was standing slightly apart from everyone else. How had I never noticed that before? I let it go to voicemail. 2 minutes later, it rang again. Dad this time. Voicemail, then Michael. Voicemail, then Mom again. By the time I reached my office building in the Loop, I had 7 missed calls and 3 voicemails. The irony wasn't lost on me. More contact from my family in one morning than I'd received in the past month combined. Sarah, you look amazing today, my colleague Jessica said as I walked into our shared workspace. New outfit? I looked down at my burgundy blazer and black pants, the same ones I'd worn to my college graduation. Thanks, Jess. I feel different today. Good different or bad different? Honestly, I'm not sure yet. Jessica was one of those naturally perceptive people who could read energy like a weather report. Want to grab coffee later? You seem like you might have something to talk about. Maybe, I said, settling at my desk. Let me get through the morning first. My work computer hummed to life, and I dove into the fitness campaign that my mother had dismissed as my little project. The numbers on my screen told a different story. Membership was up 18% now, and the client had just approved expansion to 4 new locations. I was scheduled to present the success metrics to the board next week. Strange how accomplishments felt more real when they weren't immediately diminished by family commentary. My phone buzzed with a text from Michael. Sarah, please call me back. This is getting out of hand. Out of hand. As if my quiet exit from a hostile situation was somehow the problem. Another text, this time from Dad. Your mother is very upset. We need to talk. And then, 15 minutes later, Mom herself. Sarah Elizabeth Peterson, you will call me back immediately. This childish behavior needs to stop. I stared at that last message for a long moment. Childish behavior. Yesterday, she'd told me I didn't matter to the family, and now my response was childish? I was considering my options when my desk phone rang. The office landline that only clients and coworkers had access to. Sarah Peterson, this is Jennifer from reception. You have a call on line 2. Says it's your father and it's urgent. My stomach dropped. Dad had somehow tracked down my work number. This was escalating beyond anything I'd anticipated. Sarah? Dad's voice came through the phone speaker, tight with barely controlled frustration. Thank God. Why aren't you answering your cell phone? I'm at work, Dad. What do you need? What do I need? His voice rose slightly before he caught himself, probably remembering he was calling my office. I need you to stop this nonsense and call your mother. She's been crying all morning. The image of Mom crying should have made me feel guilty, should have sent me rushing to fix whatever I'd broken. Instead, I felt a cold sort of clarity. Did she cry when she told me I didn't matter to the family? Sarah, you know she didn't mean it that way. What way did she mean it, Dad? Because it seemed pretty clear to me. There was a pause, and I could hear him breathing heavily. Look, your mother was emotional about Michael's achievement. Sometimes when she's excited, she says things. For 24 years, Dad. She's been saying things for 24 years. And you've been letting her. That's not fair, isn't it? I was surprised by how calm my voice sounded. When was the last time you defended me? When was the last time either of you asked about my life without immediately comparing it to Michael's? Another pause. Longer this time. We're a family, Sarah. Families work through problems. They don't just disappear. I didn't disappear. I left a restaurant where I was being told I didn't matter. There's a difference. Your mother wants to have lunch today, to talk things through. I almost laughed. Let me guess. I'm supposed to apologize for being hurt by what she said? I'm supposed to meet her and pretend yesterday didn't happen so everyone can go back to normal? Sarah, the normal where my accomplishments don't count? Where Michael gets celebration cakes and I get criticized for taking up space? That normal? Dad was quiet for so long I thought he might have hung up. 1 o'clock, he said finally. The Cheesecake Factory on Michigan Avenue. She'll be waiting. The line went dead. I sat staring at my desk phone for several minutes, my heart pounding despite my outward calm. They expected me to show up, to sit across from Mom and listen to how I'd overreacted, how family means forgiveness, how I needed to understand she was just excited about Michael. Jessica appeared at my cubicle wall. Everything okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. My family wants to have lunch, I said. That sounds nice? It really doesn't. She studied my face. The kind of family lunch where you need backup? I looked up at her, surprised by the offer. What do you mean? I mean, if you need someone to call you with a fake emergency in about an hour, I'm your girl. I've gotten very good at urgent work crises that require immediate attention. For the first time since yesterday, I smiled. Really smiled. Thank you. I might take you up on that. My phone buzzed again. Mom, your father said he talked to you. 1 p.m. Don't make me wait. Don't make her wait. Even in requesting my presence for what should be an apology conversation, she was issuing commands. I looked at my computer screen, at the campaign metrics that proved my worth in concrete numbers, at Jessica, who was offering support without knowing the whole story, at my desk, in my chosen career, in my independent life. Then I looked at my phone, at the string of demanding messages from people who claimed to love me, but had spent years making me feel small. And for the first time in my life, I knew exactly what I was going to do. At 12:55 p.m., I was not sitting across from my mother at the Cheesecake Factory. Instead, I was in my office conference room perfecting my presentation for next week's board meeting. The afternoon sunlight illuminated charts showing 18% membership growth and 4 new location approvals. My phone buzzed constantly. I'd placed it face down, but could see the screen lighting up with each call. At 1 p.m., it rang for 30 seconds straight, then stopped, then started again. 1:15. Dad, where are you? Your mother is sitting alone at the restaurant. 1:30. Mom. This is unbelievably rude even for you. 1:45. Michael. Sarah, please just go talk to her. She's really upset. I read each message feeling something I'd never experienced with family demands. Absolutely nothing. No guilt, no panic, no overwhelming need to fix their discomfort. Just calm certainty that I was exactly where I needed to be. Jessica knocked on my door. How's it going? Better than expected, I said genuinely. The most recent voicemail was from Mom. Sarah, I don't know what game you think you're playing, but it stops now. I am your mother, and you will show me the respect I deserve. Call me back immediately, or there will be consequences. Consequences. What could she take away that I hadn't already learned to live without? Her approval, her pride, those had never been freely given anyway. At 3 p.m., Jennifer called. Your brother is here. Says it's urgent. Michael appeared looking uncomfortable in jeans and his Northwestern sweatshirt, clearly sent by Mom. What's going on? Mom is really upset. They sent you. Of course they did. Look, yesterday was intense. But you know how Mom gets when she's excited. She didn't mean to hurt your feelings. My feelings? Is that what you think this is about? I studied my younger brother. This person I'd spent years protecting and supporting. He genuinely didn't understand. Michael, do you remember my college graduation? Yeah, of course. Who was there? Dad was there. And Mom had that thing, a hair appointment. And you were studying for finals. But do you remember what happened at your graduation? His face began changing. You drove down from Chicago, made a sign with my name. I'm not saying this to make you feel guilty. I need you to understand that the way our family treats me isn't normal. It's 24 years of being told I don't matter as much as you do. Michael sank into Jessica's chair. I never realized. I know. That's not your fault. But yesterday, when Mom said I didn't matter to the family, you should have defended me. Yes, I said simply. You should have. What do you want me to tell them? Tell them whatever you want. But I'm done pretending this is my problem to fix. So you're cutting us off? I'm not cutting anyone off. I'm just not showing up to be insulted. If Mom wants a real conversation where she acknowledges what she said was wrong, she knows how to reach me. Michael nodded slowly. She's not going to like that. That's her choice. For what it's worth, I'm proud of you. Your job, your life. I should have said that long ago. Thank you. That actually means something. After he left, my phone buzzed with an unexpected text. This is Marcus, your Uber driver from yesterday. I know this is weird, but I wanted to check in. Hope you're okay. I stared at the message, touched by kindness from a virtual stranger. Here was someone who'd known me 20 minutes and cared enough to follow up. I typed back, Hi Marcus, that's so thoughtful. I'm doing better than expected. Your advice really helped. Glad to hear it. Remember, your worth isn't determined by other people's ability to see it. At 5:30, Jessica stopped by. A few of us are going to that wine bar in Wicker Park tonight. Want to join? I thought about going home to process the emotional upheaval, or spending time with people who enjoyed my company without requiring proof I deserved it. I'd love to. As we walked out, my phone buzzed. Mom's name. But for the first time in my life, I didn't feel compelled to answer immediately. I slipped the phone into my purse and kept walking. The wine bar was warm and filled with laughter. Jessica introduced me as Sarah, the marketing genius behind that fitness campaign everyone's talking about. They asked genuine questions about my work, treated my accomplishments like they mattered. Sitting there, surrounded by people who saw me clearly and appreciated what they saw, I realized something profound. I hadn't lost my family yesterday at brunch. I'd found myself. And that was worth celebrating.